With all the attention on silver lately, we can't forget about gold. I'm still bullish on the metal, and so is this huge bank. And I agree with them. I'll explain the reasons for that in this video as we explore. Gold isn't doing too bad, even though we've seen a pullback in the metal and lackluster performance as of late, but it is still up considerably compared to where it was before, with the gold to silver ratio narrowing, but not as much as many of us think it should be. In fact, right now, the gold to silver ratio is over 91 again. But nonetheless, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about gold as well, and really there's two big reasons: economic uncertainties and geopolitical tensions. Now, those are not good reasons to be excited about gold, but nonetheless, in terms of good news, that's bad news. But that's how gold thrives, essentially, is on bad news. This is where gold shines the most. And I believe that it's in these types of scenarios where we have to think about whether or not we should be buying at any given point in time, considering what's happening. But there will be dips, as there always has been. In fact, there's been dips in the gold market that I've taken advantage of. I'm going to tell you what I got here recently, my most recent gold purchases, later in the video, so I hope you will stay tuned to that. I also made a purchase with Summit Metals, and that purchase is coming in soon on the last dip for gold. But nonetheless, Summit Metals, channel sponsor, has some great deals, but they also have excellent service and the great people over there at Summit Metals. So I hope you will check them out. But what's going on? What is this big bank? And what are these things that we're talking about here? Economic uncertainties and geopolitical tensions. And there's a subcategory to that we're going to get into in a moment. But this is from Wells Fargo, their prediction of $3,600 silver gold by 2026. I assume that means by the end of this year. Precious metals will benefit from ongoing geopolitical conflict and persistent economic uncertainty, with gold prices projected to hit fresh all-time highs next year early, according to the 2025 mid-year outlook from Wells Fargo. So this is a report that has just been released, according to Kitco. We believe that material commodity price corrections have created attractive opportunities to position for an improved economic environment later this year and into 2026, the analyst wrote in this report. We expect improved U.S. economic conditions later in 2025 to drive demand growth for commodities. So that's right, improved economic conditions. When that's good, that means that silver likely would probably do well there, especially areas that are more cyclically sensitive. Wells Fargo is advising that investors rotate into sectors that could benefit from an improving macro environment, such as energy or precious metals. The analyst suggests positioning portfolios to protect against policy and geopolitical uncertainty. It is good to be flexible, to be agile, even in the world of precious metals, but I believe you should be cautious and careful whenever you're making purchases, no matter what. And I certainly think that gold is a metal that I think has some upside potential, and this is why I'm still buying it, and I did make a purchase, but you may not feel the same way. And it's very logical to come to a little slightly different conclusion. There's some that feel that gold has near and pretty much has topped out when it reached almost $3,500 recently. Rapid economic policy changes over the past few months have roiled investors and market capitalists. They wrote, beyond the sheer complexity of reshaping the global trade order, we remain cautious of persistent regional conflicts in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, and lingering geopolitical tensions in the East and the South China Seas. U.S. economic policy uncertainty has escalated since the 2024 election, largely due to the tariff turmoil, and it has recently exceeded levels seen at the peak of the pandemic that we saw in 2020 and 2021. The analyst said that these uncertainties are expected to drive gold prices higher over the next 2 years. unless we really get something in place with China, which they're talking again, and we're going to see how that plays out, see if there's any kind of headway that is made in this latest round of talks. But just when we think something might happen, well, somebody makes an accusation that somebody else is breaking the agreement, and then it just brings things into chaos once again. Investor optimism about precious metal gains has reached levels that historically accompany sharp pullback. So they do warn about that, and it is possible that it could happen. But here is what is saving gold to a degree, and that is what they're not talking about: central banks continuing to accumulate gold, and they're not slowing down. And I think that is what is propping up gold's price. So I think there's a little bit more safety to a large extent with this precious metal, which is another reason why I'm holding it and continuing to buy as I can. So we favor patience to buy on the dips in price, they said. And the analyst also recommended that investors focus on quality over more speculative assets and diversify their holdings with commodities like precious metals, which have significantly outperformed the broad equity indexes. So that is pretty fascinating. Wells Fargo is projecting a mild pullback in gold prices to the $3,000 to $3,200 range by the end of the year, after which they expect the yellow metal to rise as high as $3,600 per ounce by the end of 2026. Okay, so by 2026, and then here in the articles, by the end of 2026. So it's a range there. They probably should not have said that. So we may see the prices fall before they go back up again. But we'll see. So and buy on the dips, especially if we see it fall back to $3,000 or $3,200. Right now it's at over $3,300. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I guess that is a possibility. But waiting for the dips to buy, that is risky too, because what if it really doesn't happen? There's a number of things that could throw it off axis. And we've seen that happen before. And nonetheless, bargain hunting is something that you have to kind of weigh that risk for your own self, which is why I very rarely advise people. In fact, I never do. I never say, buy now. I'd say do your research, check it out, see if it's right for you to make a purchase when you do it. Now, I happen to time my purchase with Summit Metals correctly, but whenever I make a purchase of precious metals, I always assume that it's going to just fall maybe even dramatically in a day or two. You live with that psychologically. You pump yourself up for that possibility, and then you live with it. How do you live with your mistake, as you refer to it? There's never really a mistake in buying precious metals unless you sell at the wrong time. And that's what I want to try to educate folks to avoid doing as much as possible. Holding for the longest term possible, because you can use these to protect that. Yes, that's right. You can use dollars to protect your gold by holding on to an amount of these that you use in an emergency so that you don't have to liquidate your gold or your silver. That's really what it's about. The dollar, even though it's losing value at such a rate of over 3% right now, that's inflation, folks. That means that essentially you are losing value by holding them, but I think it's still worth it in many cases, so that in case there is an emergency, you can protect yourself with your gold. Now, that's outside of being able to buy and sell, and especially sell at your leisure, under your conditions, and that's a different matter altogether. But nonetheless, I decided to buy, and I got another one of these, a high relief gold double eagle, for just a little bit over what a regular bullion coin would be. And if I can do it, I'll buy these all day long, because this is my favorite gold coin, no question about it. It came with original government packaging, which I don't have here because it's just too big to put in the screen, but that's the other addition to the stack, and adding that in is very nice, and for just above bullion price. It's worth a little bit extra money to make that happen, but one of the best deals I've seen on them in a long time. The other thing I got was definitely higher than bullion price, but I wanted to have it because it's a limited edition, and I love the design of this. My first 10th ounce Royal Spanish Mint Eagle for 2025, and they were very kind. Kagan's was to be able to provide me a display box and the certificate at no extra cost. So it comes in a capsule. Very, very cool. I think you buy these things raw. They just come like this in a capsule. But exquisitely crafted, even for the 10th ounce size, it just looks amazing. So proud to add that to the stack as well. And so adding to the stack a little bit each time here, but nonetheless, you left to live with your purchases, and I'm doing just that. So there you have it. Do you agree with Wells Fargo about their prediction of gold to $3,600 by the end of 2026? I don't think it's a far out prediction. I think it is quite possible. I'm reluctant to say $4,000 gold, but there's many who have been saying that. But some of them have edged back a little bit from that prediction. But I think $3,600 by the end of 2026, I think is highly possible, highly probable indeed. So, with that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.